What's up, guys? This is Bradley along with Zach and Dawson on Friday, November 22nd, 1:18 p.m. Today we'll be talking about this Chargers game, going over our thoughts, preview for this Monday nighter in LA, the Harbaugh Bowl. Uh, Ravens trying to get back on track after a terrible loss to the Steelers. And yeah, excited for this one. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I've told you guys before, Monday Night Football is kind of my jam for prime time, so I'm pumped for this. Harbaugh Bowl is all the hype. I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, I'm always excited for primetime games, especially going out to LA. This one has obviously a little more spice to it with it being the Harbaugh Bowl and all the relationships between the two teams with former players and coaches and all that stuff. So this is gonna be a fun game. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, it's nice. It feels weird ever since the Ravens have had Lamar and been really good with Lamar. We get like 5, 6 primetime games a year. Kind of spoiled, but they're always, in my opinion, I love primetime a lot more than a Sunday at 1. And then you also get to watch Red Zone all day. So kind of two upsides to that. Um, so this one, Ravens 7-4, Chargers 7-3, 8:15 on ESPN and ABC. It's kind of weird. Sometimes they do the local, sometimes they don't. Manningcast, obviously Buck and Aikman. Also, the Manningcast will be on for this one, so we get that for both Ravens games on Monday night this year. Believe it or not, I think some people don't know this, but the Chargers Stadium is not indoors. The sides are open, so 59 degrees. I wanted to preface that so people don't think I'm stupid for saying the weather. 59 degrees in LA on Monday night. I was actually very curious to see the spread in this one, guys. Ravens are favored by 3, over under 50.5. Any thoughts there?
I don't get into buy into any spreads. We know the story there with Ravens football. They've been heavy favorites at a few times this season, and didn't go our way. So I don't usually. I mean, it's interesting to see, of course, who Vegas thinks takes this game, and by what margin. But I never buy into the spreads.
Sounds good. Yeah, kind of the same with me. But yeah, like you said, it's always interesting to see because Vegas always knows a little more than we do. So yeah. Anyway, injuries, kind of big situations for both teams going on right now. Obviously, number one thing for the Ravens, Roquan Smith, dealing with that hamstring. Ravens have only had one real day of practice so far. Practice report probably released a little bit later after we release this episode. If he doesn't go today, say he probably doesn't play. If he goes today, then he'll probably play. But man, if Roquan can't play, that'd really suck. Aguilar is dealing with an illness. Travis Jones ankle, and Arthur Millette dealing with a calf injury. And Justice Hill was actually limited in concussion protocol. As for the Chargers, Lad McConkey did not practice with the shoulder. Inside linebacker Denzel Perriman, pretty good player. The groin did not practice. And Cam Hart, corner that most of you guys probably don't know, playing really well for the Chargers this year. I believe he's a rookie, like 5th-round pick from Notre Dame. He's dealing with a concussion and an ankle injury. Joey Bosa has been limited. Bud Dupree has been limited. Khalil Mack limited, but all of them will probably play.
Yeah, if I'm looking at any of them, I'm kind of concerned with Nelson Aguilar. That illness is kind of a shocker, and if he were to maybe sit out, then does Mr. Deontay Johnson get a chance? Much more reps? That's interesting.
Yeah, also, when there's a guy with an illness, you immediately think as far as exposure within the team and hope that it's not reminiscent of the COVID season. I don't know why I brought that up, but that's always what I think about when you see a player on the injury report with an illness. You kind of get scared of don't spread this around. We don't need this team to be unhealthy, especially going across the country on a Monday Night Football game. But yeah, obviously big name with Roquan Smith. Hopefully he's able to go. That's our guy. That's our green dot helmet in the defense. And that would be a huge loss for the Ravens if he's not able to go, because you would automatically assume that Malik Harrison takes over the responsibility. Not as far as the green dot, but in the middle of the defense and starting in place of Roquan. So the green dot would probably go to Kyle Hamilton, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets back in the practice field today. Hopefully, man, that would be a huge loss. And this defense is kind of starting to find a little bit of a rhythm, and you don't want to throw another wrench in it just when it starts to show some life.
Yeah, for sure. It's just kind of sucks that sort of it seems like the Ravens finally figured out what to do on the back end, and then their best player, maybe besides Kyle Hamilton, goes down with an injury. So hopefully he can get out there. If not, uh, I mean, it's not a long term injury, but I really feel like every time he's not out there, Ravens are a much worse unit. In terms of the matchup history, John is actually 2-0 versus Jim. They played early 2010s on Thanksgiving. I think Ravens won like 16-6 or something like that against the Niners. And then obviously the Super Bowl. Ravens lead the all-time series against the Chargers 9-6. Ravens have won 4 of the last 5 against the Chargers. Do you guys have any memories or anything you want to talk about? All I can think of is really the 4th and 29. But yeah.
It's got to be the Super Bowl. I mean, it's 100% a Super Bowl. It's what everyone thinks about. That's the last Harbaugh Bowl that we had,
Yeah.
and obviously it went in our favor. But I'm excited for the matchup, man. Like I said, there's so many connections between these two teams. Like you're gonna see so many pre-game, post-game embraces between these teams. Like on Monday, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be kind of cool to see, you know. And then we're gonna have a Greg Roman offense attacking our defense. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Not to mention they have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, who was literally our backfield the last like 3 seasons. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be cool to see. But other than that, the only thing I can think of really is the Super Bowl, obviously.
I think of Ravens Chargers in 2018 to win and get in the playoffs, and then playing them in the playoffs to lose. So, I mean, that's how I think of the matchup history. It's kind of fun to combine that with Jim Harbaugh. I think that's interesting, and it's must watch. I think everyone's going to be watching this just because of how successful both teams have been, and really a good chance here for Jim to take a big swing at John this time around.
Not to mention the game last season, which was awesome, and it came down to a Zay Flowers end around and took it to the house for a touchdown, which I believe was on a 4th down, was it not? I think it was on a 4th and short, like a must
I mean,
convert
the
situation
exchange was almost fumbled too.
for the Ravens, and Zay Flowers took it to the house, man. That was awesome, and I'm pretty sure he had that like awesome celebration with OBJ, if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I think it was pretty cool. So that game last year was awesome, and hopefully this is kind of reminiscent of that because that was a fantastic game from start to finish.
That was honestly one of the very few games within the last couple of years where the Ravens played bad and still found a way to win. We have
Yeah.
not seen that very often. We could use another one of those. I don't care if the Ravens win 13-10. Win is a win. So getting into the Chargers offense versus Ravens defense, Dawson touched on it a little bit. Chargers OC is Greg Roman. They got J.K. Dobbins. They got Gus Edwards. Bradley Bozeman's their center. I mean,
Hayden
it's
Hurst.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy everything they got going on. So in terms of stats, they're kind of middle in the pack and everything in points per game. Only at 22 a game, that's 18th. Yards per game, 326, and that's 19th. Pass yards per game, 205, that's 19th. Rush yards per game, 12th at 122 a game, but still nothing near to what Greg Roman was doing with the Ravens. Time of possession, about 30 minutes a game, so they're 12th there. Justin Herbert's been playing really well recently, over 275 yards in the last 4 out of 5 games. I think McConkey's been playing really well. I think Quentin Johnson sort of is beating the bust allegations, as you could say. He's not having a breakout year, but he's playing a lot better. And it's really good to see J.K. Dobbins on the rushing side of things, getting it going, having a great year. And, man, this Chargers O-line is elite with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt as the bookend tackles there.
The Chargers – oh, no, sorry, Dustin. You good?
Go ahead. You're good.
Okay. Well, I love talking about their wide receivers right now. Ladd McConkey has been like our – I think I might have predicted him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year in our preview. I'm pretty sure. I was just kind of like throwing it out there because I love a good dark horse. But like Ladd's been balling for the Chargers. 4 straight weeks of 50-plus yards, and might I add, 4-game win streak for him. So they have a little secret recipe going. Quentin Johnston, 3 straight games with touchdowns. That's pretty awesome. I mean, they've really found their weapons for Herbert, and like we would know watching Greg Roman offenses, it's not a lot of wide receivers. It's mostly running and trying to get that established. So seeing JK and Gus is going to be like the weirdest, like deja vu feeling. But I'm excited to see how they attack our defense, because if they find so much more growth and dominance in the rush game, switching it up to go to the pass. If you watched any of last week's Sunday night football game against the Bengals, Herbert aired it out, 275 plus yards. I think it was like 290 actually. And they scored 34 on the Bengals. Like, their offense can play. It's just you have to beat their defense. It's a combination of both. I'm sure you can point that the Bengals defense isn't that great, but our defense hasn't been that great all year too. So I'm looking forward to this side of the ball specifically because of all the former names and the former coordinators. I think it's much more of the loaded side of this matchup.
Yeah, I would 100% believe that if you look at the box score based off the Chargers offense, that their success is really blinded by that. And I think their offense is a lot better than what people can just look at and give them credit for. Because lately, when I'm watching Chargers games, it looks like they don't have a lot of trouble trying to score the ball and punch it in the end zone. And it's crazy because, like we said, this is a Greg Roman led offense. We know the troubles of that. But we do know how good it is in the first year. In the first year, it looks great. And then it goes down from there. However, yeah, this Chargers offense can attack you from a lot of different ways. Like Zach and Brad both said, they don't really have a ton of weapons. They don't have like this star-studded wide receiver. They don't have like this immediate threat that scares you or intimidates you. However, they attack you utilizing all the weapons in such different, scary ways that you got to account for everybody. And like Zach just said, it's going to be kind of weird to see J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in the backfield. It's going to be very strange given that they were our running backs literally the last 2 years, and that is their 1-2 punch. And it's just gonna be odd. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be a little scary. And I like what this Ravens defense has been doing lately. They're kind of finding a little rhythm. I don't want to say they're back. I don't want to say they're a top unit by any stretch. But given how bad they've played to begin the season and up until the last 3 weeks, I don't care what the scores are. You can see it if you actually watch the tape and watch the team. They're starting to find a little bit of rhythm, and they're starting to find kind of their domain, you could say, and they're playing good ball. And hopefully they can build from that and keep going and keep stacking these wins. And I should say not wins, I should say stacking these successful defensive outings. And from there, man, it can only get better. And obviously we know the story of the offense. That's not an issue in Baltimore, and we'll get to that. But overall, I do like our chances against this offense. I do like how our defense matches up against them. Obviously, I would like Roquan Smith in the middle of the defense. Hopefully that is what we get. Given if he's 50% or 100, I just want him out there. He makes a huge difference, and without him, you'll see the difference he makes. So, I like how we match up against them, and I'm excited.
Yeah, missing Roquan would be big because it's not even just the fact that Malik Harrison has to replace him. It's also the fact that Trenton Simpson, first-year starter, who's already struggling, now doesn't have the second best linebacker in the NFL next to him, helping him out all the time. So sort of a domino effect there. And I believe Kyle Hamilton would have the green dot, so no issues there. But just missing the middle guy in your defense, making $20 million a year, I think could be the difference in a win or a loss in this one. So moving on to Ravens offense versus Chargers defense. Chargers defense playing very well. Number one in scoring. They're allowing 14.5 points per game. That's like a 2008 defensive number.
Yeah, it is.
Total yards allowed per game, 317. Pass yards, 207. Rush yards, 111. 11th, 12th, and 11th ranked in the NFL on those. 33 sacks. 7th in the NFL there. They got some good players. A lot of people that sort of on the come up. They got a nice edge rusher, Tuli Tupulotu. He's got 7 sacks. Really been playing well this year. I think he had multiple sacks against the Bengals last week. Bud Dupree, 5 sacks. Khalil Mack, 4.5 sacks. Joey Bosa, a little bit more of a quiet year, but we know what he can do there. Their inside linebacker, Deion Henley, second-year guy out of Washington State, third-round pick. He's playing really well, leading the team in 94 tackles, also 5 pass defense. So he's pretty good in pass coverage too. For example, Roquan has 110 tackles. Henley has 94, but the Chargers also had that bye week. So he's been playing really well. In terms of the secondary, they got Derwin James playing nickel, similar to what we were doing with Kyle Hamilton before we had to move him back there. Denzel Perriman, like we mentioned earlier, dealing with an injury, but he's another good inside linebacker that they have. In terms of deep safeties, Alohi Gilman and Elijah Molden playing pretty good football for them. Corners are playing really well. Cam Hart, we mentioned, the 5th-round rookie at Notre Dame. He's dealing with the concussion and the ankle, so might not be able to go. But even if he can't, Christian Fulton's been playing really well, and another young guy, Tarheeb Still, has been playing really well. All their PFF grades are in the 70s there. So not much weaknesses on this defense, guys.
Yeah, if you cut out last week's game against the Bengals, that final score was 34-27. So 27 points is the most they've allowed by a lot. Through 9 weeks, the most they'd allowed was 17 points in a game. In a loss one time against the Cardinals, and then in a win against the Titans. This defense is ridiculous. Like I can't tell you exactly what they're doing to hold them in scoring situations, but like it feels so bend not breaky, like we always talk about, right? But in this case, it's allowing a few more of the lesser plays, like giving up the 1 and 2 yard carries to Derrick Henry in our case, or to the other running backs, and really stopping players on third down. I look at their pass rushers, like we mentioned. Brad, you said that 3 of their star guys are all limited in practice, which is a note for me. But their sack numbers are still undoubtable. And Jim Harbaugh always gets guys, whether at Michigan or with the Niners. He always had a Pro Bowl talent level guy that would get those sacks, and that's the key to his defense. And it's happening. Like everything that Harbaugh wanted, Jim Harbaugh wanted, he's gotten with this team. And it's made them kind of a juggernaut. Like they're just like a really quiet, slow walking, sleeping giant. Like it's, they really hung in with the Chiefs. They had a chance to beat them. They really had a chance against the Cardinals. Cardinals aren't really great, but they lost that in the last second. I mean, they are like how we kind of talk about our losses are maybe the difference of 1 or 2 plays or some last second attempts and stuff like that. Like the Chargers are kind of in the same situation, except with an elite, probably the best defense in the league. Like I'm very impressed by the Chargers defense, and talk about a heck of a opportunity to bounce back for the Ravens offense. Dawson was spitting game about the Ravens defense. I loved what he was saying. And I think that the Ravens offense have to pull their weight. Isn't that a weird thing to say? Like we're talking about the being the exact opposite maybe 3 weeks ago. And now it's like, yeah, you can't throw up another stinker like you did last week in Pittsburgh. You have to go out there and get us 3 touchdowns minimum and really get in the Chargers' way, because Chargers can find a way to beat you on offense, but their specialty is defense. So our offense has really got to come to play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't want to jump ahead of schedule here, but I will say the Ravens defense has 2 very, very tough defenses these next 2 weeks before they enter their week 14 bye week. Philadelphia next week is also a top 5 defense, you could argue. I mean, arguably top 3, maybe the best in the league. They're phenomenal. But here we are again this week on the other side of the ball, talking about a unit who is playing really good football, also led by a coordinator who is a former Raven. Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. We all know him. He was an assistant, I believe, defensive backs coach and defensive assistant coach here for a few years before he went to Michigan, and now he's joined the Natty Champ coach here in Michigan, back in LA with the Chargers. So it's going to be very interesting because this Chargers defense, I think Zach explained it literally perfect. I mean, they're kind of like a slow, creepy, slow walking giant that people are really overlooking, and they've been playing amazing, amazing football. And I'm gonna be honest with you, don't call me a casual. I'm not a casual. There's a lot of guys on this Chargers defensive depth chart that I'm not very aware of. I don't know many
That's
things about
facts.
these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at this depth chart and looking at the, starting 11 over there. And there's not a lot of guys that I'm super familiar with. So it's going to be interesting to see. And like Brad said, they're all playing really good football. It's a complementary unit who is playing football together. They're boding well. The chemistry's there. They're clearly playing for one another, and it's working. So it's gonna be interesting to see because once again, we talked about the injury report that they got a couple guys on there that are kind of the stars of the unit, you could say. But that's kind of the story of the Chargers season this year. That it doesn't matter who's playing; they're winning football games and they're playing for each other. And it could be a guy who no one knows anything about, and here he is making plays, and they're winning games. So it's gonna be a fun matchup to watch, like we've been saying. And this is once again a very very tough test, and it's a big opportunity for the Ravens to kind of overlook a crappy loss and bounce back in a big way against a team that that this team wants to beat. So I can't wait.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned, the Ravens offense, this would be a great game to get back on track against the top scoring defense in the league. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It is interesting with Jesse Minter being there, sort of a Mike McDonald, John Harbaugh disciple type of thing. So we'll see if the Ravens have any familiarity over there. But yeah, should we get into X factors and all that good stuff? I could
Yeah.
start with what I think the Ravens need to do to win because it sort of stays on the same topic in terms of Ravens offense. I think we all can agree that even though there wasn't really an opportunity for Derrick Henry to get the ball in the fourth quarter against the Steelers, in the first 3 quarters, he still didn't get the ball enough. And I would like to see the Ravens, run the ball a little bit more, even when it's not working. The Bengals, I mean, Chase Brown, I didn't have a great game, but he still had like 85 rushing yards. I think he averaged maybe 3.9 a carry. Yeah. But I mean, like, in terms of the Chargers defense playing well, we did mention this, like, they did not play well last week, gave up 27 points with McPherson missing 2 field goals, so could have been 33. So it's interesting. The Ravens do have a chance to sort of bounce back, but I think, Derrick Henry getting involved is massive. You look back at the Steelers game last week, this might be an exaggeration, but do you guys not think the Ravens might have won if they just ran the ball every play and punted when they didn't pick up first downs? Like,
I mean, it's fair. It's fair to think about. I mean, I can't sit here and logically tell you whether that's true or not, but I mean, that is a logical, thing to think about. It's probably, unfortunately, correct. Whether, it didn't happen, but it's probably right.
Something we were doing is obviously the recipe because the Steelers just got freaking beat down last week. I mean, or just like last night. I mean, the Browns could figure it out. I mean, there probably is a recipe that we just kind of neglected, and other teams like, oh, that's actually the way to beat the Steelers. Wow, congratulations. Yeah, so maybe we were just kind of screwing ourselves.
you guys have anything else for what the Ravens need to do to win?
I just think that okay, so when I think this goes beyond the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens this week. I think we got to slow down this Chargers offense. And when I say slow down, I think we need to keep doing what our strength is, and it's stopping the run. Because it sounds crazy to say that the Chargers have been winning games this season, a lot of them, because their rushing attack, go figure, under Greg Roman, is incredible. And J.K. Dobbins, dude, I mean, I don't know where he's at as far as rushing yards in the league, but I know he's a top. I know he's top 10. I know for a fact he's top 10. He's somewhere close to top 5 probably, and they've been running over teams. And I do think he plays Travis Jones, but he has been fighting an ankle injury for like weeks now, and he is an absolute juggernaut on the defensive front for Baltimore. And there is a very, very clear difference when he is playing or when he is not in the field with a team and how they can rush against us. Give also Roquan Smith, of course, but we really need Travis Jones and Roquan Smith to play in this game because if not, I'm kind of fearful of how the Chargers could potentially run the ball on us. And I know we've been literally like the best team against the run, but missing 2 of your biggest, components on defense right there with those guys who clog the middle and basically close those rushing lanes, I would be kind of terrified to think about Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins running against us. J.K.'s found like a new way of life in LA. He's overcome all the injuries and deficit, which is amazing. I'm rooting for the guy. Not this week, but I'm kind of scared to think about how the Chargers can expose this defense, especially if the Ravens are missing 2 of their most important players. So I think we just need to play hard-nosed defense like we've been the last few weeks, keep doing exactly what we've been doing, and just be ready for this rushing attack in LA because it's going to be no joke.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say this is like a what the Ravens need to do or anything. I'm mostly kind of tapping into Kyle Hamilton being on the green dot. Like, I'll be really honest. Kyle Hamilton has had his injury history this year. He's been banged up, and you'll see him kind of stay out for the rest of a drive. And what happens whenever the main guy, the main voice of your defense is looking like he's going to be out for the game, and then your other guy who's supposed to be making these calls to the defense can't be on the field for a drive or 2? Does that mean that the Chargers just walk down and easily get it if you can't have any communication? On the other hand, they probably have a backup. They're planning for something like this. But if it's the 2 guys that we would pick, like, hands down over anyone else, it's really concerning. I also look at someone like Justin Tucker, who had a pretty rough week. He nailed that 54-yarder after the 2 misses, which is impressive. But it's going to take some points. It's going to take a few more points than usual to get this job done. Because if, like I said, if the Chargers defense comes to play and they are only allowing 17 points in their wins and stuff like that, like, I mean, dude, there's going to have to be a few of those opportunities where Lamar makes something happen and we get, even to just like the 35 and have Tucker come up clutch. There's going to have to be a few of those this week. And it makes me nervous. It makes me really nervous. It makes me nervous to pick this game. It really, really, this is a difficult final score prediction for all of us. We were like, shoot, what do we, which way? No, we were all kind of struggling.
Yeah.
So
Real quick.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to say this before Brad here. We did just get a live practice update today. Looks like Nelson Aguilar with an illness has returned to practice.
Okay.
However, on the unfortunate side of things, Roquan Smith, Tyler Linderbaum, Travis Jones, Arthur Millette, and Sanausen Kane are still not on the practice field. Linderbaum's a new absence, so we'll see what happens there. So I don't know if there's an immediate concern there, but Roquan and Travis Jones are still not practicing. So that's a little scary for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. It's probably trending towards Roquan not playing.
Even Travis Jones at this point.
Yeah. One last thing in terms of what the Ravens need to do to not fumble away another one is we talked about this on the Q&A this week. The penalties were the sole reason, and I guess the 2 fumbles, the Ravens offense not playing well on Sunday afternoon. And it's hard because like holding penalties are just like a weird thing. But you gotta tune down the illegal man downfield. Got to tune down the false starts at least, and see what they can do on that side of the ball. In terms of the Chargers, I feel like they just need to play their best game. I don't know if there's one individual thing. I mean, you saw what the Steelers were able to do against Lamar. Sounds cliche to say, like, I'm saying this in terms of not letting him scramble, but like keeping Lamar in the pocket, not letting him run around for 8 seconds so other receivers can get wide open down the field. The Steelers did a really good job at that. I feel like Chargers pass rushers got to find a way to do that. I would say stop the run, but the Ravens haven't ran the ball too much the last couple weeks. So that's not really a point of emphasis right now. Hopefully they get back to it on Monday night, though.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to say this too, and obviously we all hate to even mention this and throw this in the air, but I think in order for the Chargers to give themselves a good chance to win this game, they have to just take the advantages and opportunities that the Ravens are unfortunately probably going to present to them with, key errors and mistakes, and they're going to have to capitalize. So whether that's Justin Tucker missing a field goal, setting them up with really good field range, to start their drive, if that's a Ravens fumble, if that's an interception, if that's a 4th down stop. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's a story of the Ravens season every year. And if the Chargers want to win this game, they're going to have to take the opportunities that present themselves. And unfortunately, the Ravens are going to give them some, unfortunately, probably at least a couple. So we'll see. I hope I'm completely wrong with this. And I hope what I'm saying means absolutely nothing to us given, Tuesday morning. But, Chargers got to keep playing their game, of course. But, just take advantage of what the Ravens are going to give you and kind of allow themselves to shoot themselves in the foot, which has been, unfortunately, a storyline for quite a bit.
Yeah, like the perfect headline would be the Chargers being disciplined. Like the Chargers are a disciplined football team and the Ravens just aren't. If we're talking just maybe penalties, for example, if you can get the Ravens really racked up on penalties again and you're really taking care of your team, you're going to easily be in a 1-possession game with these guys. Like it's going to happen. You can't keep kicking yourself. If there's going to be drives that start out with 1st and 15 or maybe a good Derrick Henry run is negated by a holding, it's like, all right, this is a mood killer. This is what we're used to. And the whole team, the players are going to feel it on the field. The same kind of story is happening where, oh, we started off pretty bad again. All right. And really drives are just wasted. So Chargers got to play really smart between the ears, I think, for this game. And they have a real good chance of taking it.
That's been the biggest difference between Staley and Harbaugh. Just a night and day difference in terms of mentally, emotionally, what the Chargers look like. Not too many changes on the roster. In fact, it's probably a worse roster than they've had the past couple of years with no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams, and they're sitting 7-3, going to be in the playoffs. So just
impressive.
Testament to how good of a coach Jim Harbaugh is. So now let's get into score predictions. I feel like all 3 of us are kind of on the fence about this one. Does anyone want to start? If not, I can. Okay, Dawson, go ahead.
I don't have much explanation for this. I am torn given how the Ravens played last week and how good the Chargers have been. However, this is primetime football. This is out in LA. We know the story here. Lamar Jackson's going to play a phenomenal game. He's probably going to put up 45 points, and this Ravens offense is going to roll. It's just a story. It's what happens. And I can't logically look away from this right now. Okay, that might have been an exaggeration. I don't know if we're going to put up 45 points. It's just the point of like we know how this team plays in primetime football, and I can't overlook that right now. I think the Ravens bounce back in a big way this week, and I think they come out. My prediction is 29-21. A weird game, but they win in the end pretty comfortable.
Wow, I wish I was that confident. I don't really see the Chargers defense putting up really a performance like they did last week, where they have to win it on offense, beating the Bengals offense, which is also really impressive. I think the Bengals had a great chance at it too. There's a few crucial third down catches or big first down gains that someone like Jamar Chase was dropping, and they would have a drive stalled out, and McPherson missing kicks. Like, honestly, the Ravens offense could get going. Like, I'm sitting here literally talking myself back on and off the fence. I literally don't know how this game is going to go, but I think the Ravens can squeak this one out. I pick them 24-23. It's stupid close. It might come down to Mr. Tucker saying goodnight.
Yeah, the kicking game is going to be massive in this one with Cameron Dicker having a really good year. You touched on that, Zach. And Tucker struggling. I can't pick the Ravens to lose 2 in a row with Harbaugh and Lamar. It's just that would be a little shocking to me, honestly. If Roquan can't go, which there is a chance, this happens with star players a lot when they're injured. They just don't practice and then try to go on game day. That definitely could be the case. If he can't go, I think the Chargers offense is going to have a really good day, mainly in the run game, but also in the passing game. Probably going to see Ravens dime a lot. So, that's not the perfect strategy for stopping the run, but you also wouldn't love to have Malik Harrison and Trent Simpson out there 100% of the snaps. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win despite that 28-27. I think the Ravens offense is going to have a good day, but I also think the Chargers offense is going to have a really good day. I just trust Lamar to pull away in this one and maybe, get a field goal drive at the end of the game and not drop a second one in a row.
I like that.
Yeah, it's exactly what honestly we need to hear with primetime games and Lamar. Dawson was preaching it, and that kind of slaps me in the face, like, oh yeah, we have Lamar Jackson on primetime football. Like, in Los Angeles, I just can't see us losing it. It would just be really, really rough. It maybe stacks up on penalties, stuff like that, but that's all I could think of. I really think it's hard to picture Lamar Jackson walking out of LA, at 8:15 with a loss.
Yeah.
I think we'll all be pretty happy Tuesday morning.
There we go.
I like it.
Yeah. Chargers preview. I guess we'll be back late Monday night to go over post-game reaction there. Be sure to like the video if you made it this far. Should we have people comment something if they're still watching here? Or should they comment
Rashad Bateman if you watch this all the way through? Rashad Bateman. If we see that comment, you're a real one. We appreciate all of you guys.
Yep.
Yes,
we'll give you a cookie.
Yeah. So like the video, help us out a lot. Subscribe if you're not already, and feel free to listen on Spotify if you'd rather do that. But yeah, appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on Monday night. Peace.